The wise physician is one who uses every resource available to bring about the desired healing. Dr. Tom Wright is a wise physician. In addition to the usual tools of medicine and surgery, Dr. Wright calls upon God to intervene. The Holy Observer went to the Geisinger Medical Center in Danville, Pennsylvania, to speak with this most unusual doctor.
Mr. Whitebread, yeah, this is Dr. Wright again. I'm giving you an update about your wife. Her cardiac output, her heart really was not working very well this morning, despite all the medications that we gave her yesterday. So we switched her on another medication this morning that is somewhat risky to start, but we were sort of trying to pull out all stops. And shortly after we started that, her heart stopped beating. And we did CPR. We started, and she did come back, and now her heart is beating again, and her pressure is okay, but this is certainly a serious setback. Well, I can't make any guarantees on that at all.
He's very easy to work with, concerned with his patients. He always shows a caring attitude towards both his workers, co-workers, and his patients, and he's very nice to work for.
Would you be able to get a body wall or something like that, or broncho retractor?
I think he's probably one of the most easygoing and well-mannered surgeons that work here, that have worked here for a while.
I've evaluated her. I think her burns are all partial thickness burns and cover 20% of the body area.
Okay, was it a flame burn or just a steam burn or smoke burn, or did you make contact? Did your clothes catch fire?
No.
Does it just smoke and heat that got you, or did any liquid or anything get on you?
Well, I went to the window and a plastic shade was gone. It wasn't burning, it was just
A plastic what?
shade.
Shade.
It wasn't burning, just found me hot. But I don't think I got any flames at all.
Okay, how's your breathing now?
Oh, it's not too bad, man. I don't have so much phlegm in my throat.
I enjoy working with Dr. Wright because I think he's very thorough, and I like his attitude towards his patients.
That attitude is one of respect and love, a love that could only come from the Holy Spirit residing in Dr. Wright's heart. Tom Wright became a Christian when he was a freshman at Penn State. By the time he entered Temple Medical School, Tom had developed a serious relationship with God. Despite the rigorous demands of medical school, he always found time for God. Not only did he attend church regularly, but he participated in several Bible study groups each week. Every day he spoke to the Lord in prayer. Now anyone who's been through medical school knows how jealous a mistress medicine can be, demanding complete loyalty and devotion. What Dr. Wright did was to marry his medical training to his spiritual training, so that one was not complete without the other.
I would encourage her to be out of bed.
Dr. Wright is now in his 5th year of residency in general surgery. I asked him what it was like being a Christian doctor in a profession that basically rejects the notion of God.
Well, I would say probably the biggest difference that I see in many areas is that medicine is such a demanding area. A number of physicians basically look upon that as their number one goal in their life. And certainly in residency, they view your role as being, medicine as being it, and everything else must take a second seat. And medicine has certain natural demands that are required of us. We must meet, and there aren't options about that. But I feel there are very strong spiritual demands on my life as well, and balancing these two can be very difficult. And I think many people who are not have a Christian orientation don't understand those very well. And they see things like trying to be able to be faithful in going to a Bible study or church sometimes as being, they don't understand those orientations.
Being a Christian physician, do you feel that God can intervene today supernaturally in the area of prayer and healing?
I do. I believe that the Bible, discussed that Jesus performed miracles, and that I don't think that was just for those times, that he can today. I think that's not his usual way of dealing with mankind and their illnesses. I know Paul asked to be healed, Jesus asked to have the cup delivered from him, and they weren't. So I don't believe that because we desire to be healed, God will necessarily do so, but I do believe that he has the ability to intervene at any particular time and can. My orientation in praying for them to be healed is if it's his will, as opposed to claiming it's that's just a reflection of my faith. If my faith is strong enough, they'll be healed, and if it's not strong enough, they won't. I don't hold that orientation. I think it's up to the Lord's will and what his purposes are in a situation.
How do your patients generally respond to your Christian beliefs and your attitudes when you talk with them about it, or when they know you're a Christian?
Most people respond very positively. The amount of patients that we see, many patients don't know of my Christian orientation. It's not something that readily is involved in all my patient interactions. I went into medicine thinking, having this vision of being able to pray at the bedside of every patient and discuss my Christian beliefs, and I found that just is not possible with the amount of demands there are to meet medically, and so it's on a more selective basis. Sometimes when it's an obvious situation, sometimes when I feel the Lord leads to be involved, but it's not with every patient. I very rarely, if ever, have encountered somebody to be negatively oriented toward praying with them.
Before we left the hospital.
Lester Stahl did not refuse prayer. He had a tumor in his lower bowel that had to be removed. Several times during the ordeal, Dr. Wright prayed with Lester and his wife. Finally, the pathology report came back. The tumor Dr. Wright removed had been malignant. So, having prayed with Dr. Wright, was that a good experience?
Oh, that was a heartwarming experience, It just helped me to forget fear, and I wasn't concerned about what the outcome was going to be 30 days later. Although it was a question, I had to make a decision, but it was no question as to what the outcome would be.
Is Dr. Wright the only doctor who's ever prayed with you?
Yes, as far as I can remember, Dr. Wright is the only doctor who ever prayed for me. I feel that Dr. Wright not only does good as far as physical help, but with his prayer, with his devotion, and with his concern for the patients that he has to go with, that he is very capable of doing it. And the Lord is really using and leading him in his way of life.
Do you wish that more doctors would pray with their patients?
I do. Any doctor who is Christian or who attends anyone who is Christian, to my estimation, it's a real lifting experience to have someone pray for you, and especially the doctor who tends you.
How about that tenderness that you're having back here?
Dr. Wright will finish his residency this coming summer. He could set up a private practice and easily earn $100,000 a year. He could enjoy the highest standard of living this world has to offer. But money doesn't mean that much to him. Following God does. Dr. Wright believes the Lord is leading him into missionary work. He will be going overseas with a team of doctors. Such a team approach is unusual in the field of medical missions. Why would you choose to go as a group rather than individually?
Well, that's a good question. We have a fairly strong feeling that way. We've all, or most of us, have had experiences short term on the field, and we've seen the great amount of medical demands, and the physicians tend to get so involved working, meeting medical needs, they have no time to deal with spiritual needs. And our motivation is not just simply to go over as physicians. We want to go over as Christian physicians and minister to spiritual needs as well. And we need, in order to meet the medical demands, we feel we need a large enough group that we can cover the medical needs but still have an ability, if there's 4 of us who are physicians, maybe to be on call every 4th night, and to have other evenings that you know that you can be free to be involved in church planning or growth ministries. Particularly patients who are in for a long period of time, you have more opportunity to have an ongoing type ministry with, and we'd like to be able to talk to them about the Lord, about their spiritual needs, and if they live in a nearby area, to be able to be involved in discipling them or helping them to grow to a greater understanding of the Bible. And we'd like to be involved in church planning, where we would be involved with local church leaders and being involved in establishing churches and developing Christian discipleship.
I getting ready for my part. There's been a change, a rearrangement in my heart. At last I'm learning there's no returning once I start. To live's a privilege, to love is such an art.